We're living in the realm of wants, and the best way to get your wants is to protect your needs.
The thing that kept me kind of off budgeting for so long is that I don't like having really defined, strict limitations. I'm not thinking about like, I have to spend this amount on groceries and this amount on concerts and this amount on clothes. Like, I'm just thinking I have this amount that I cannot go below. And that really makes me think like, well, do I need to buy 3 books today?
Right.
Or do I need to go get groceries today?
Yeah, it reminds me of when people say, okay, well, what's the best workout? I'm like, the best workout
It's the one
is
you do consistently. Yeah,
Yeah.
you automate what you're going to save, or you automate what you're going to do with your money, wherever you're going to put it.
Yeah.
And then you just never have to think about it again.
You were made to do more in life than just pay bills and get by. The key to even more success? Get your assets together. With generational growth, we're not just talking about wealth. This is about building your version of an incredible life in every area that truly matters: mind, body, business, and self-care. What if I told you there's a life-changing opportunity to help yourself, even now and especially now? I'm KK Hart, an expert on being both well and wealthy. I've spent decades building what's basically my own investment fund, emphasis on fun, acquiring and growing unique brands with capital, partnerships, and strategic support. I'm here to empower you to go further faster with an anti-hustle, no burnout path to getting richer and more financially fit for investing, acquisition, and growing everything you own. Let's grow.
So let's talk about your fitness. You want to do squats?
No.
Want to do shots? Maybe.
A little early for that.
Well, let's talk about financial fitness, because I think when I think about the correlation between, the physical, I believe everyone has a different element of what they consider fit,
Yeah.
right? But what about the financial? I think there are different levels of what people should consider fit.
Of course.
I don't think that I want to, keep up with the Joneses because it's actually not my value set of what I think financial fitness looks like.
For sure.
So I would love some tangible ways to talk about how you've approached that without feeling like you're keeping yourself from enjoying life. You said something really specific about that. And then I want to talk specific strategies around, okay, so then how do you kind of tactically become more financially fit?
Yeah. So I think what I touched on was about like how I set up my budget.
Yeah, I'm calling it the anti-budget.
Yeah. And I think that's what it was.
The anti-budget budget.
Because the thing that kept me kind of off budgeting for so long is that I don't like having really defined strict limitations, like with a restrictive diet, like that sort of thing just like wouldn't work for me. It doesn't work for most people because I feel like it sets like a line in the sand, and everything just beyond that line is just a little bit more fun.
Interesting.
And maybe that's just like a personality thing. Maybe that's just,
I think you're more normal than me that thinks about what's the least that I can do.
Right. And I think like, I kind of think like that now, but thinking like that initially wasn't going to get me in the habit of budgeting.
Yeah.
So what I did is I was like, okay, is there an amount that I don't want to dip below? Like, what's the least amount of money that I'm willing to see in my bank account?
Yeah.
And how can I budget around that? That way, like, I'm not thinking about like, I have to spend this amount on groceries and this amount on concerts and this amount on clothes. Like, I'm just thinking I have this amount that I cannot go below. And that really makes me think like, well, do I need to buy 3 books today?
Right.
Or do I need to go get groceries today?
Interesting.
The closer and closer that I get to that line. And then it became a game of like, how far away from that line can I stay? And that's where I think like we are thinking the same thing, but we're coming at it from opposite angles. Because I didn't start with thinking like, well, what's the most money I can keep in my bank account? What's the least money I can spend? I was like, what's the least money I'm okay with having? Because that still lets me feel like I'm balling.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Balling on a budget.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it inversely so I don't give myself like the ick from budgeting.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of kind of opening your eyes for a period of time. Maybe for a month, you really look at what's flowing in and what's flowing out so you can track every dollar, but then
Yes.
also like, no, you're not going to do that forever.
Exactly.
And that will actually help you to set up your investment fund.
And I can't do that forever. Like
Right.
that's a lot of time to spend with your money. While you should spend some time with your money, I think if looking at your finances becomes like a second job for you, that's again something you're not going to stick with in the long term. 'Cause
Yeah.
it just takes too much of your energy.
Yeah, it reminds me of when people say, okay, well, what's the best workout? I'm like, the best workout
It's the one
is
you do
you'll
consistently. Yeah.
You've heard me say this so many times.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I can't tell you how many times when I was on TV that I would say that to someone. It was like, we wrapped, right? And then the anchor would be like, so like, what's the workout? And I would tell them that, and they would look at me with a blank stare. And I feel like the
'Cause
same.
that's not a fun thing to
right,
hear.
the same is true with money. It's
Yeah.
like the best thing is for you to do.
But
what's
that's why
best.
I think like, you automate what you're going to save, or you automate what you're going to do with your money, wherever you're going to put it.
Yeah.
And then you just never have to think about it again. Like you think
Yeah.
about it for a finite amount of time, you figure out what you want to do with it, and then you just let it happen. And then if what you let happen isn't what you want to happen anymore, you just think about it again for a finite amount of time, you shift whatever you're automating, and then you go about your merry way.
Yeah, I think the shift is where everybody gets messed up. Shift happens.
Yeah.
And I think the shift has made me a lot of money. Being able to be pliable, both with my skill and my capital, has been an amazing opportunity to realize that being a resilient motherfucker has benefits.
Yeah.
And so, when I think about why people don't do that, it's almost always related to fear and perhaps related to, this is going to sound so crazy, but a lack of impulse control.
Yes.
So
I think that's absolutely what it was for
Right?
me. Is I was like, I know I have poor impulse control. So I know if I set that like very limiting boundary for myself, I'm going to cross it every
Right.
time. So I was like, how can I stay within the limits of what I can feasibly spend and not bankrupt myself, but also not give myself these like hard and fast rules that I know I'm going to break.
yeah, and so even implementing something simple like a waiting period. So it's not
Yeah.
like I'm never going to do something outside of this dollar amount, but it's
Right.
like if I spend over $200, I need to give myself a 72-hour waiting
Yes.
period as a starting off point.
Yes.
I think so much of like our economy is built on impulse purchase. And everyone knows clickbait is bad, but not everyone realizes that just looking for something to buy on the e-commerce platform of their choice is also not great.
Which also I would do all the time. And like I
Interesting.
still kind of do, but I won't buy it. I'll be like, I'll put it in my cart. And if I still
Yeah.
want it the next time I think about buying something, then I'll get it. But more
so
often
good.
than not, I'll go back and be like, I don't want that anymore.
You don't actually need it.
You're like, I was just bored and I wanted to buy
Yeah.
something.
I'm a big believer in needs versus wants, right? And it's actually taken me a long time to figure out like what are my actual needs. And every time I think about that now, I realize that I could live on very little.
Yeah.
Very few things are actual needs. And more so, we're living in the realm of wants. And the best way to get your wants is to protect your needs.
Yeah.
And so when I think about financial fitness, I think one thing that is really hard and elusive to think about is delayed gratification.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But it's the thing.
It is the thing. And I will say the first time you told me that term, I was like, okay, bitch, whatever. But I also think I was like 16. And I was like, what do you mean delayed gratification?
Yes.
I want what I want and I want it now.
Yeah.
Which I think, sometimes there's a time and place for that. You give yourself a little
Absolutely.
treat every now and then. Like that's what keeps momentum going is
Yeah.
that you're able to do that for yourself occasionally.
Yeah.
But I think when that becomes your entire mindset,
Yeah.
then that's more damning to you than you might realize in the moment.
Yeah, this is where I think diversification of income and diversification of assets really starts to play out.
I
Because
love a diversification of income.
I mean, it is literally the thing that got me here,
Yeah.
right? And so if you think very specifically about, well, I need this one job to give me this one thing, I can tell you almost always that's going to disappoint you at some point,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
I mean, having a diversified income is a really fancy way of saying I was working 3 jobs to
Yep.
like make ends meet.
Yeah.
But I did go from that to just having one, not extremely high paying job, but like high paying enough job that I just streamlined all my income through. And that burned me out in like 8 months.
Right.
And then I was like, all right, well, I'll go back to just having 3 jobs then. But now it's like, 3 jobs that I actually find some sort of fulfillment in because I had the freedom to pick and choose what I wanted to do rather than just like getting survival jobs.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's just, it looks different because I'm at a different stage in my life. And I actually find this more fulfilling.
Yeah, there's a phrase that comes to mind. It's called values investing.
Yeah.
And so that is not always about, like we said, it's not stock picking or, finding a home to purchase. Values investing may be that part of what you put aside as that investment fund, you use it for real world good. So some of the things I love to do is to fund kind of invisible charities or invisible needs or causes, because those are near and dear to my heart. And what that allows me to do is have impact that's way bigger than me.
Yeah.
So when we think about needs and wants, we're thinking about WFIM, right? What's in it for me? But actually, going back to the meaning of life, there's so much of our dash that should be made for others.
Yes.
In a very non-codependent way, by the way.
Yeah.
So when I think about that, diversification allows me that ability and is almost a tool to get there, because if I have all of my money in insert one thing here, whatever it is, the risk of that is actually much higher.
I was going to say, yeah, it also makes you feel like you can't really step outside of your comfort zone financially because you only have this one thing to rely on. So if you mess up this one thing, it's all gone.
Yeah. And so this is where, like, really wealthy people, this is what they get right.
Yeah.
People who punch above my level, the family offices of the world, they understand you have to place a lot of bets. And I think where most people get caught up is that the devil's in the details. You have to know what bets you're placing and why you're placing them. And as a starting off point, I think values investing is a really cool way to say, look, there's this cause, there is this interest, there is this product, there is this service. And I really believe this needs to be in the world. Now, you could probably also call that angel investing, because you're giving that money almost like, I don't ever want to use the word charity, but you're giving it without expectation that it's actually coming back. And that could be a really interesting way to think about your investment fund, which is like portions of it are really to do some good in the world for others. Portions of it is to make you more money.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes those things outpace themselves in different ways. But if you're doing it with your values in mind, you almost never hate the outcome.
Yeah, I think like even if it's ends up being a poor choice or a bad risk, you still did it with good intentions. And I think you may regret it a little bit, but less than you would if you thought like, oh, I'm going to do this thing that I don't really believe in because it's going to make me a lot of money.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work out, that's devastating. But if you do something that you do believe in that could make you money, could not make you money, even if it doesn't, not help you, but like it doesn't grow your wealth in the long term.
Doesn't serve you specifically.
Yeah, it still feels good to have done and have taken a chance on.
I think that is the definition of financial fitness.
Yeah.
It is less about how much money's in the bank, how much it makes you, what assets you have. While I love that, true financial fitness is, I think, being able to do anything and choosing to do what's best versus what's easiest. And sometimes what's best leans on our values instead of just our skills and needs.
Yeah.
And if I go deeper into the concept of fitness as an example, there are varying kind of ways to think about someone being fit.
Yeah.
But ultimately the why is the same. Everybody, I think if you ask them, would say, I want to live a good life. There's this concept of like your lifespan and then your health span. And so for a long time, lifespan was all about like chronological age.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I would say that I'm a biohacker, but that is so polarizing. I just really believe in living a great life, and longevity is a big piece of that. Longevity now has a catchy phrase, but I would say the interesting concept of a health span, which is to live the best life instead of just the longest life. And I feel that way financially.
Yeah.
I feel like that is the thing that, because money doesn't define me, I'm actually freer to make more of it.
Yeah. That's why I was saying
it.
earlier, like with you telling me, money is just a tool. It really helped me. Like when people talk about like body neutrality, it really helped me get like money neutrality.
Wow.
So like I'm not attaching my identity to this thing. I'm just seeing it as a thing that I can use to do other things.
Yeah. And when you think that way, this is where it gets real interesting. So let's say you are an accredited investor. So you're earning a good living. Would be considered high net worth. This is where the real areas of opportunity come in.
Yes.
So recently invested in a venture capital fund. The amount you have to have in order to do that is almost always a six-figure sum. That six-figure sum is invested in a fund, a group, and usually a number of assets that are maybe 80% are going to go away and 2 are going to do what they call return the fund. These are risky, amazing wealth vehicles when you get to a level where you can sustain that.
Yeah.
What big thinkers with money do, what big players with money do, is they start realizing the magic is in the diversification, and it's in knowing when to take the risks and then trusting that there's a pool for that risk.
Yes.
We don't get that way unless we're fit.
Yes.
You can't get the results you want almost always without support. So if it's physical, you may need to read the books, go to the certain, types of classes or gym, maybe get a trainer. Like there's an investment in order to get to the physical success. It's no different with the financial success. And when we're thinking about the big bets have the massive, they call them outsized returns, massive rewards. Whether that's a goal financially or not, I think when you zoom out, you realize that everyone's playing a different game. And if the game is to stay small, there's absolutely no shame or blame in that. I just believe that most people play small out of a scarcity mindset instead of an abundance mindset.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm sharing this today. It's like, I want you to see, like, it's actually possible to get to a point where you're a limited partner in a fund. And then you're like, yeah, you can go make me some money now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit here and blow dry my hair. And that's a level of success that very few get.
Yeah.
But I think more could if they thought about their financial fitness the way they do about their physical fitness or, other big goals that they have.
Yeah. And I think like financial success at that level is kind of the loudest voice in the financial ether. So I think, again, it plays into like, well, why don't you think you can attain that thing? It's because people are just so loud about what they do when they already have it and not loud about how they got there, or if they started there, how, that is a different sort of worldview than someone who may have had to play the game a little bit to get there.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of talk when you get there and not a lot of talk along the way, which sort of goes back to what you were saying earlier about how like you just felt like you had to have your blinders on and not talk about it and just do the work. And then you could talk about it later.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people think, because when the loudest voice is the most successful voice, you think you have to attain that success before you can contribute to the conversation.
Yeah, and I feel so differently about that. I feel like the best conversations come from the diversity of where everyone is at, and
what everyone wants.
Right.
Maybe you don't want that success, and that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, I've actually loved having conversations with people who really value the material success or the monetary success. We see the world differently, but I learn a lot from them. And it does sometimes encourage me to do things maybe outside of my comfort zone.
Sure.
Which is a whole other layer of success. When I think about the number one thing that I've seen cost people a lot of opportunity and wealth, it almost always is not financial. It's personal. So as we transition, I want to just kind of know where we're headed. And that is almost always the thing that ruins people's lives as they're trying to grow and they're trying to kind of outpace their generational struggles, is personal development. It's not actually money or professional development.
Well, yeah, because a lot of these steps aren't steps you can take unless you're ready to invest in yourself, unless you believe in yourself to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like fully like, I'm the shit, I got this, I'm the best person in the world.
Yeah.
But like you at least have to be able to take a risk on yourself.
That is it.
Yeah.
If you can think about it as, I'm going to invest in me.
Yeah.
Everything else becomes clear. But let's go another level.
You have to
love
think you're
yourself.
worth investing in.
Got me.
Yeah.
You have to actually then go, but I'm worth this,
Yeah.
And so that's where, I really love this concept of financial fitness. I wish most people thought of it that way, because remember, there are gradients even to our own physical fitness. Sometimes you feel like you want to go exercise. Sometimes you feel like you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel like maybe a calm walk is the thing you want to do for a certain stage of life. And sometimes you're like, I'm going all in on these really difficult types of exercises, right? And it's the same thing with this. It is like, no one ever said there was a perfect linear path to financial success, but boy, do we act that way.
Oh, yeah.
So when I think about getting your assets together, so much of this is personal development meets financial development. And I want to go deeper into that next. As we finish out this episode, do you have a why? Everyone always talks about their North Star and their why. And in business, I think it's total bullshit. Because most times the why is something insidious that they're not really saying. But then they say community and then everything seems right.
Right.
But do you have a why that's driving you right now, or a North Star that you're kind of really leaning towards?
I want the same free time to be creative that I had in my childhood.
Ooh.
I think a lot of the times when I think about the different creative things I want to do with my life, the thing that's getting in my way the most is the lack of time that I have to contribute towards that thing. And I think I was able to contribute a lot of time when I didn't have bills to pay and I was maybe like 13 through 18. I think about, when I was the most successful creatively, and I think that was when I was in my conservatory program, I just had all the time in the world to work on the art I wanted to work on.
Interesting.
And I didn't know what a privilege having all that free time was until I realized that free time is exchanged for money in a lot of people's adulthood experiences and in my adulthood experience. So I think my North Star is, how can I get the most time for myself to do whatever I want to do? Right now, I think it would be creative endeavors, but if that is playing video games, perhaps then I would do that for a day.
Yeah.
But I think overall, free time in general to do what I want to do when I want to do it is the North Star.
That's so good. I think mine has changed every 5 to 10 years. And what I think about now, even hearing you say that, is that this really is my why, is passing on generational growth, which means not just wealth, but knowledge.
Yeah.
And helping that knowledge inspire action. It is what gets me out of bed still to this day. I've never been money motivated, but I think I'm even less money motivated now. Because I know that is actually not the level of success that I want to be known for. I want to be known as someone, and I hope that anyone who works with me or knows me would say this, is I've never seen someone more dedicated to doing the right thing. And sometimes the right thing is a lot more difficult and unsexy than most people realize.
Yeah.
And I think that could not be more true as it relates to financial fitness.
Yeah.
So here.
Thanks for joining us. Now go out there and turn your success into action. Generational Growth is about helping you in every area that matters: mind, body, business, and self-care. Share this episode on social media and LinkedIn, and feel free to send us where you feel strong and where you need support.
Please note, this content is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered financial or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions. Some of the products and services mentioned may involve financial compensation or partnerships.